We're now joined by the Auditor General of Canada, Karen Hogan. Karen, good to see you again. Thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Now, during the pandemic, certainly we know that immigration backlogs were created, but we're now past the emergency phase of the pandemic, and yet these backlogs are still there. Just how bad have things actually gotten?
Well, we actually embarked on this audit to answer the question of what progress has the department made in eliminating backlogs and reducing wait times. And what we found is while they made some progress over 2022, many applicants are still waiting a very long time. And in fact, refugees are waiting the longest, who are arguably some of the most vulnerable, waiting approximately 3 years.
So 3 years. Why is this happening? That sounds very disconcerting, especially when you talk about a refugee situation where people are so desperate to find safety.
I think there's many things that contribute to why people are waiting as long as they are to hear about their permanent resident application. It starts really with immigration levels, and then you look at the processing of an application. And there are things that are within the department's control and things that are outside the department's control. When it comes to those things internal, what we found is that there was really some inefficient processing of applications and some management of files that could have been done better. So, for example, if we looked at the amount of applications sent to two particular offices, if we looked at Tanzania and Rome, they have roughly the same amount of individuals that work at processing permanent resident applications in those offices, yet the Tanzania office has 5 times the workload. And the department was just not doing an analysis to understand the capacity of that office, and yet was still routing applications there. So those people are just going to wait longer.
So clearly a disconnect between resources and the demand. But, it had me thinking about the government's own immigration targets, because last year the government did meet its own targets, bringing in more than 431,000 permanent residents. But as you know, they now want to welcome 500,000 permanent residents by 2025. Given the current backlog, in your view, is that even possible?
Well, I think we should start off with recognizing that there are thousands of public servants who process hundreds of thousands of immigration applications every single year. And they've been dealing with an increase in immigration levels for many years and are meeting those targets consistently. But in order to sort of reduce the backlog, you do need to understand whether you need extra resources or whether you just need to be more effective at what you're doing. And I think that's the place where the department needs to start now, is to really honor the commitment they made in 2016 to understand the capacity of every office that they have, and then to allocate the workload to match that capacity. But then to also understand if there are any other of their processes that are contributing to the wait time.
Mm-hmm. So a redeployment and then an assessment. Listen, before you're done here, Karen, I also wanted to bring up another report that you released today, because one report really caught my eye, and that had to do with the IT systems that are used to deliver CPP, OAS, and EI to Canadians. And you say they are at risk of failing, and you even raise the specter of the Phoenix Pay system that, as we know, has been such a mess for civil servants. What's the issue there?
Well, in this audit, we actually looked at the modernization and the transformation of 3 IT systems that support the delivery of those critical benefits to millions of Canadians. These systems are somewhere between the ages of 20 and 60 years old. And every day that a system that's old goes on unmodernized, it increases the risk that it will fail. And we thought it was important to make sure that the government had learned from some of the lessons from the Phoenix Pay system. And while we did see that there was better oversight, more complete and accurate information, I am concerned because this project is running into delays, cost overruns, and some staffing issues, that decision makers will not learn from the lesson from Phoenix, and that they will prioritize budget and timelines and forget the most critical part of transforming these 3 critical programs, which is making it more user-friendly and accessible to Canadians. Because let's face it, almost every Canadian at some point in their life will likely call on a benefit from one of these 3 systems. So it's important that they are functioning properly for future generations.
Karen, always appreciate the time. Thank you for that.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Karen Hogan is Canada's Auditor General.